Hi guys, so today I wanted to talk about positioning baby in the womb to help encourage a faster and less painful labor and what I've done to keep my baby in an optimal fetal position. So I'm going to say really quickly, I'm not going to cover transverse or breech babies. So if you found this video somehow and you're looking for information on that, I'm not going to talk about that only because my baby never went transverse or breech, so I never really looked into it. I will say though that there is a website, I'm pretty sure it's spinningbabies.com. If it's not that, you can Google spinning babies because it's definitely something along those lines. I'm pretty sure it's spinningbabies.com though, that is meant to be a really good resource for what you can do to try to get your baby to go head down before you go into labor. And that is the resource that I plan to use if I need it, knock on wood. Hopefully I won't. So I'm going to talk about basically babies in the head down position and what would be the most optimal way to go into labor versus the less optimal way to go into labor with a head down baby. And I think it's something like 90 or 95% of babies will work their way into a head down position before you go into labor on their own without you having to do like anything to try to spin them around. So it will be applicable to most people. So very quickly, I'm going to use this little bunny rabbit as my model because I don't have a baby doll, just to show you guys what the positions actually are. So this is my big pregnant belly, 32.5 weeks. So head down is really easy to understand. Baby's head is down. Basically, anterior positioning is referring to a baby whose the back of the baby's head and the baby's back will be facing your stomach or to your side a little bit. So slightly to the side, but more towards the front still. And that could be either side. It doesn't really matter as long as baby is mostly facing towards the front. And then posterior is when baby's, the back of the baby spins towards your back. So baby is facing frontwards. This is the front of the bunny. It's hard to tell with the bunny, I know, sorry. But yeah, so posterior is when baby's back is facing your back and baby's face is facing forward. Now, basically what makes the difference between a anterior and a posterior baby is gravity, because the back of baby's head and baby's spine will weigh more than the front of baby. So depending on how you position yourself throughout the day, baby is going to end up swinging or leaning in towards that position just to be more comfortable. So yeah, I'm going to talk a little bit more about the actual positioning and why anterior is better than posterior really quick, well, as quick as I can manage, because we all know that I can just go on and on about nothing. And then I'll tell you guys what I've been doing to keep my baby in an anterior position, because it's very easy to get it to swing into a posterior position. So I'll just tell you guys what I'm doing just on a day-to-day basis and what I'm avoiding to keep it anterior. So basically, anterior is the optimal position for a natural labor. If you're scheduled to have a C-section for, you know, the many different reasons that it could happen, then it doesn't really matter what position your baby's in. So I doubt you would be watching this video. But if you want to have a natural labor and you want it to be as pain-free as possible, you want your baby to be anterior facing. So why this is basically just because of baby shape versus your body shape and how it's going to come out. So in an anterior position, the smallest part of baby's head is going to present itself into your pelvis and then come out of your cervix first. So using the smallest part of its head will enable it to basically put slow and even pressure onto your cervix and your pelvis to help it open up more slowly and evenly, to help not necessarily always prevent tears, but at least to lessen them or lessen the degree of them. And I will add in quickly that when baby's head is crowning, you should do your best to resist pushing and try to pant baby out. Like, obviously I haven't been into labor before, so I don't actually know this by practice, but this is just consistent with all of the research that I've done. Because basically when the head is crowning, you want baby to come out as slow as possible to really minimize your chances of tearing, or at least minimizing the degree of the tear that you end up receiving. So the only exception being if baby is in distress. Like if there is some reason baby is in distress that you are worried about baby's health, then they may tell you to push anyway to get baby out faster, because in that case, I don't think you're going to be worried about whether or not you're tearing. In that case, you just want your baby out as quick as possible so you can attend to whatever it is that was putting baby in distress. So that being said, yeah, so the smallest part of baby's head when it's in an anterior position is lined up to come out first, and then it will twist its head as it's coming through so that the widest part of its head fits into the widest part of your pelvis. Baby will not be able to come out this way if it's in a posterior position. It's just not the way the baby is, because when baby comes out, it will tuck its chin, and in the opposite positioning, it will not be the smallest part of its head. It won't be fitting into you correctly to come out as pain-free. So when baby is posterior, the reason why labor will more likely be longer is that baby will want to get into an anterior position before it comes out. It is possible for baby to come out without ever going into an anterior position. It will be more painful for sure, but it is possible. But regardless, baby will spend a lot of time, it could be hours upon hours upon hours, trying to spin around into an anterior position before coming out. And, you know, by the time you've gone into labor, baby is big, there's less amniotic fluid, and you're having contractions, which will, everything is working against baby, basically, on being able to spin as easily as it would have been able to do if you had practiced movements or positioning earlier on in your pregnancy, just to keep baby in a good position. So another thing about a baby in a posterior position is that a posterior baby is less likely to drop into your pelvis and engage before you go into labor. And because of this, it is more likely for baby to become overdue, which once baby goes overdue, that also means that it's got more time to gain extra weight to also equal out to a more painful labor. However, now it's not always a posterior baby that causes your baby to come out later. So it's not to say that just because your baby is running late, it does not mean that your baby is necessarily posterior. It's just something that may be a factor to consider. And then lastly, most commonly, as far as pain is concerned, the reason why a posterior labor is much, much more painful than an anterior labor is that when baby's back is facing your back, that means the back of baby's head and baby's spine is going to rub up and put pressure onto your spine. So you've got the hardest parts of baby putting pressure on your spine while you're giving labor. And back labor is meant to be very, very painful. So if you want to have a natural labor without any, pain relief or anything like that, you're going to be more likely to get through it if you can keep your baby anterior or basically where its back is facing your stomach. So what I've been doing to keep my baby head down and anterior is, well, I'll start off by saying I started doing this a long time ago. It's been at least a couple months. Oh no, it's actually been like 3 or 4 now. I can't even keep track of time. I don't know. Because I'm not really sure exactly when I started this. I feel like it was probably around 16 weeks or so. And I think it was because that was around the time that I read that, I think, this is all think because I'm going by memory, somewhere around 18 weeks is when babies will start. It does not mean every baby, but a lot of babies may start to get into a position for birth. I'm not talking about getting engaged. That will happen much further into your pregnancy. And some babies never engage until like last minute, but I think most will do it within like the last few weeks of pregnancy. Yeah, but a lot of babies will start working towards that head down position and get into a position that's more comfortable around 18 weeks. That being said, at any point in your pregnancy, even if you're 39 weeks, you could have a baby that's been head down the whole time and it could just decide to flip around. So there is only so much you can do, but you can definitely help encourage your baby to be in a good position. So I started doing this weeks and weeks and weeks ago, but the timing that you really want to be paying attention to doing this is if it's your first labor, they say about 6 weeks before you're expecting to deliver, so around 34 weeks. And if it is your, second, third, any subsequent pregnancy for you, then you don't have to worry about practicing this optimal fetal positioning for like the last 2 or 3 weeks of your pregnancy, because basically baby will have more room to get into a better position further into your pregnancy. So 34 weeks, you can start practicing this for your first pregnancy, and then maybe like 36, 37 weeks for a subsequent pregnancy. That being said, if you want to be like me and just be ahead of the game, just because, I guess I'm extra paranoid, I just really want to ensure that everything is lined up and in my favor for when I go into labor. Why wouldn't I? And the irony is I'm not actually afraid of labor. I just want everything to be in my favor. Like, why wouldn't I want to be? So the first things I did basically were the couch went basically off limits for me. So it was around 16, 17 weeks that I stopped letting myself sit on the couch. On the very, very, very rare occasion I sit on the couch, I will not sit back into the couch. I will sit forward. Now this is basically because whenever you are sitting down, you want your pelvis to be tipped forward. You don't want your pelvis to be tipped back. So anytime you're laying back, now just remember what I said earlier about gravity. If you're tipping backwards, like if you're lounging about, baby's back, which is its heaviest part, is going to swing backwards. Now, I'm not worried about being in this position just for a few minutes or so because it's not going to happen that quickly. It's more what you're doing most of the time. But I wanted to make sure I was out of the habit of lounging about on the sofa. And the thing is like, especially when you're in pregnancy, you just want to be able to relax. So that was why for me, I really wanted to start doing it early because I just wanted to like cut that habit out as much as possible. Yeah, so no more sitting on the sofa for me. So what do I sit on? I sit on the dining room chairs, which are wood and hard. I don't use the, if you see, we have like seat cushions on the chair. I'll like flip that forward. And basically I do not sit on the cushion. I always flip it up so I'm sitting on a hard surface. And then when I'm sitting on the chair, I will always lean forward and like open up my legs. So you're not going to be the most feminine person with your legs closed. Open your legs wide, give baby room to, you know, get its head down there. And I always sit forward, because if you're leaning forward, then gravity is going to pull babies back towards your front. And then I also, in the background there, you can see my birthing ball. Well, it's not actually a birthing ball. It's like just an exercise ball. But I mean, an exercise ball is no different from a birthing ball as far as I'm concerned. It's just what it's listed as when you buy it. I basically stole it from my husband because it was his ball. But I let a lot of air out of it, so it was a better size for me. And now that is what I will sit on if I'm not sitting at the dining room table. So like, if we're, you know, hanging out and like watching a movie or something, I will like either sit on the ball, or I will get on the ground with my knees on the ground, and I will lean on the ball with my arms, so that once again, I'm leaning forward, my pelvis is tipped forward, and my stomach is coming forward so that baby's back will roll towards my front. Another thing that I haven't done, but if you're in the car a lot, like if you have a really long drive to work, or, you know, if you're just in the car a lot for any reason, it'd be a good idea to get one of those wedge pillows, or just any kind of pillow that you can put underneath your bum just to tilt your pelvis forward. Because being in the car, a car seat will tip your pelvis backwards, and that's a position you don't want to go into. So if you're in the car a lot, you should look into getting some kind of pillow or something that you can use to tilt your pelvis forward while you're in the car. And I would say that's like, that would be like, to me, a lot would be like if you're in the car for like an hour or more a day, then maybe it'd be worth it. You know, but it's, like I said, it's not so much what you're doing in little amounts, it's more what you're doing most of the time. So it's not, you shouldn't worry about it too much, but you do want to be constantly conscious of your positioning, because the position that you take is going to affect the position your baby takes. So another thing you can just do is, you know, if you're standing, and I've got a table here, basically, instead of standing straight up, you can just lean forward, put your elbows on a counter, on a table, because this once again will put your belly into a downwards position so that baby's back will swing towards your stomach. And in the same regards, an all fours position on the ground is also a good position to go in. But, you know, how many hours of the day are you going to just be like on all fours on the ground, you know, really? So the other thing that I've done is I'm going to shut the camera off really quickly, and then I'll show you guys as I'm talking about it, okay? Hold on. Okay, so this is the bed, and basically what I have here is, this is one of those pregnancy pillows. And if you didn't get a pregnancy pillow in your pregnancy, why? I really tried to put off getting one as long as possible, because I just thought, why would I buy something like that? It takes up so much space, and when I'm not pregnant, it's just going to be in the way. It makes sleeping such a big difference. Sleeping is so much easier at night. I have zero pain associated with sleeping. And I'm, you know, 32 weeks pregnant now. So definitely, if you have any problems with sleeping, get a pregnancy pillow. That being said, for what I'm showing here, you do not need a pregnancy pillow to do this. You can just use a lot of pillows. But basically, what I like to do every now and again is, I've got this pregnancy pillow propped up with extra pillows. So what I can do is I can lay on my stomach. So my stomach will slot into here. And what I like to do is just kind of hang myself off the edge there, and I'll be reading a book or something. Sometimes I'll just nap that way for a little bit, or even watch YouTube videos, you know, whatever. Sometimes I set this up in the living room in front of the TV as well. But that's just a way that I can lay down on my stomach for a extended period of time to give the baby a chance to swing forward once again. Another thing is laying down on your stomach just feels so amazing because it will help take a lot of pressure off your back. So it's just a really comfortable position to be in pregnancy. So if you don't have a pregnancy pillow, you can just pile up, you know, as many pillows as you need to comfortably be able to accommodate your stomach. Yeah, but that's worked really great for me. So I'm going to shut the camera off again, and then I'm going to show you the positioning that I use for sleep. So this is the ridiculous setup that I have to sleep at night. So basically I sleep on my left-hand side. Left-hand side is the best side to sleep on if it's comfortable for you, of course. But the left-hand side is the best side for you to sleep on during pregnancy because it promotes your circulation. So it helps give more blood to the placenta, as well as it helps with your digestion. And digestion can already be so poor in pregnancy that obviously you want to help with your digestion as much as possible. And actually, even if you're not pregnant, the left-hand side would be the optimal side to sleep on for the same exact reasons, to help promote circulation and digestion. That being said, if you know that your baby is head down and on your right-hand side, then it would be better to sleep on your right-hand side. But I sleep on my left-hand side, and seriously, pillows really your best friend in pregnancy. I do so many different things. So basically, I sleep with this pregnancy pillow, and then I've got it all propped up around here. Basically, I have an extra pillow underneath the head so that my head is slightly elevated. I've not had any problems with heartburn, but this might be one of the reasons why, because they say to elevate your head a little bit to help reduce heartburn in pregnancy, or just heartburn in general, because once again, that's just if you have heartburn in general, it doesn't matter, you'd want to elevate your head. And this is not natural for me by any means. I used to always be just a one pillow person, if anything at all. I like to sleep pretty flat normally, and I'm naturally a back sleeper. So what I've done is I've got a pillow under the head to keep my head elevated, and then I have a little hole here. So that's where my arm goes through, my bottom arm, so that it's not being crushed. Another pillow here, and that helps to give me that little pocket that I can put my arm through. And another pillow here just to elevate this side of the pillow so that I can put my right leg, my right leg will go over this to keep my pelvis in alignment. And basically that pillow there is just to stop this from pushing back too far, because I do like to have a little bit of it to wedge underneath the bump. And sleeping this way will keep baby in an anterior position. So as long as you're sleeping on your side, baby will stay in an anterior position, or will be encouraged to be in an anterior position. Whereas obviously sleeping on your back would encourage baby to go towards your back, which regardless, you shouldn't be sleeping on your back in pregnancy anyway, because you've got a major artery, the vena cava, that I didn't say that correctly. But anyway, you've got your major artery that your the heaviness of your uterus can put a lot of pressure on, and basically you could pass out, or you've cut off your circulation completely. Yeah, it's not good for you or the baby. So really you should be sleeping on your side in pregnancy anyway. But that's another way to help encourage baby to get into an anterior position. Okay, so that's pretty much everything that I do on a day-to-day basis, just to help encourage keeping my baby in an anterior position. And to, all the things that I cut out to keep it from going into a posterior position, because I don't want it to do that. Basically, other than that, the only other things that I really do to help keep baby in a good position is, every now and again I'll do a prenatal yoga DVD, which is good for other reasons, but a lot of the movements in yoga will actually encourage baby to get into the right position. So, definitely look into prenatal yoga if you know your baby is in a posterior position and you want to get it into an anterior position. The prenatal yoga will really help a lot. And of course, walking. Like they always say walk to get your baby into good position. This is because when you're walking, your pelvis is naturally tilted forward slightly. So, you know, and walking is good for you for other reasons as well, because, you know, cardiovascular benefits and, you know, getting that blood flow going to baby. So that's everything that I've done. It's nothing super major. I know it seems kind of like, you know, a lot to think about throughout the day, but once you get used to just kind of like always sitting forwards, not lounging back too much, you just kind of get used to it. And actually, there's been a huge benefit to me doing this, because earlier in my pregnancy, like, you know, as early as like 12 weeks, I was starting to get the back pain. And my back would really slope in a lot from, you know, the weight of my belly. And obviously at 12 weeks pregnant, I hadn't actually gained a lot, but my stomach was a lot bigger just from like gas buildup and everything like that. And regardless, I had the relaxin hormone in my body to, you know, make everything like curve in more and everything. So my back was getting really curved from poor posture, basically. And from doing all of this sitting forward, sitting up, not sitting back on a couch. I don't sit in the bed anymore either. If I'm reading in bed, I will always either be stomach down or on my side. But I only use the bed really for sleep for the most part. Because I used to just sit up in bed like every night and just kind of like, you know, putz around on your phone or your iPad, whatever. I don't do that anymore. So no more lounging back. But because of all of that, my posture has gotten so much better. And because my posture is so much better, I don't have any back pain. You know, and I'm 32 weeks pregnant, so hopefully that'll keep up towards the end, because now even when I look at myself in the mirror and I just assume a natural position, like not that I'm purposefully pulling my back straight, but just if I stand in front of the mirror in like a relaxed position, my back doesn't curve like that much at all. Whereas earlier in my pregnancy, when my stomach was way smaller, I had a huge curve in my back. So I definitely think that all of this optimal fetal positioning, you know, all these different things that I've been doing as far as sitting up and sitting forward have really helped my back strength quite a bit. So, you know, if you have a lot of back pain, this could help you out a lot as well. When you start it, you might get a sore back because you're not used to constantly holding yourself up. But it's worth it in the long run, because my back just like, I remember like having like a really sore back quite a bit in my first trimester and in the first half of my second trimester. And now I rarely have back pain. Every now and again, I'll get like maybe like an hour or something of back pain, but never throughout the day, never every day. It's very inconsistent. And to me, it more has to do with just, you know, maybe I was in a not good position for a little while and that's why my back was hurting. But yeah, so double benefit. That's everything that I've done to keep my baby in a good position. You can definitely look into optimal fetal positioning or spinning a baby if that's what you need to do to get your baby into a good position. Yeah, do more research into it if you know your baby's in a posterior position, because you definitely want to get it into a frontwards, not frontwards, you want to get it anterior, so its back is facing forward. Yeah, but this is just what I've done, and hopefully that'll help you out. But I would say to go ahead and research it further for more information, and probably better information as well. That's it. Have a good day, guys. Bye.